Hey, what's going on? My name's Vit, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the new 7.0 level 100 job actions trailer for Dawntrail, as well as some of the information that they shared during the recent live letter covering all of the new job actions, what we can expect in Dawntrail for the new jobs and the old jobs as well, all the upgrades and new abilities that we're getting. And you know, I've got about 7 pages worth of notes here for all the different jobs. So lots to go over, but each one shouldn't take too long. So let's just jump right into it and get started. Okay, so we're going to go a little out of order here, or more in order. This video kind of jumps around between all the jobs. We're going to try to stick to the roles one at a time. And we're going to start with tanks. First of all, the tanks are getting, or every job, or every role in the game, are kind of getting a buff to their mitigations. So tanks specifically, all of them are getting an upgrade to their big 30% mitigations, as well as Rampart is getting an upgrade. I don't know if that'll be visual or what, they didn't really say, but it should be cool. And Reprisal, as well as all the other party mit in the game, is getting a time upgrade to 15 seconds from 10 seconds. So we'll see how that is, but let's just jump into Paladin here and start watching this video. Paladin's getting some interesting stuff. They mentioned that Atonement, instead of just pressing Atonement 3 times, it's now going to be a 3-part combo, which is pretty cool. I think we just saw upgraded Rampart there as well. I could be wrong about that, but we're also getting a 5th part of the Confiteor combo, so instead of just 4 hits of those big sword attacks, there's going to be a 5th one. Pretty straightforward stuff. Requiescat as well is getting a minor upgrade. There it is, we just saw that. Overall, nothing too crazy with Paladin, but, you know, Paladin just got reworked recently in Endwalker, so they don't really need a whole lot going on. A lot of these jobs are just getting minor upgrades, some little things here and there, so 3-part Atonement combo, a 5th part to their Confiteor combo. Pretty cool. Okay, now we've got Warrior. Couple little things here. They apparently have a follow-up during inner release. After doing 3 Fell Cleaves, you get a new ability. We just saw that. I was wondering if that was it, but they're not in inner release, so I'm not really sure. They've got, you know, a few things. There is upgraded Vengeance we just saw. Here they're doing their 3 Fell Cleaves in inner release, so that would in theory give them access to a new ability, according to the live letter, which I believe would be that. And then they also get a follow-up to Primal Rend right here. And that pretty much does it for Warrior. It's straightforward, but a couple more big hits, a couple more fancy Fell Cleaves, and, you know, follow-up to Primal Rend's kind of nice. Okay, now we've got Dark Knight, which is a bit of an interesting one. Right at the beginning, we see what looks to be a gap closer with no potency right there, which would be really nice if we're able to use our gap closers without having to rely on them for damage so much. They also incorporated Blood Weapon and Delirium into the same button to reduce button bloat, so we just saw that. And in theory, it just cuts down on some bloat, and, you know, you still get the same effects of both. Might change the rotation a little bit. Also, when they summon Living Shadow, it gives them access to a new ability afterwards, which is interesting. We'll have to see exactly what that is, but that looked like upgraded Shadow Wall as well. They're 30% mit. And I believe right at the end here, they do the new ability, this, which I'm assuming is just some big damage ability that you get after Living Shadow every 2 minutes. Should be really cool. Dark Knight looks as good as ever, in my opinion. Okay, now we've got Gunbreaker. Similar to Dark Knight, right at the start, they show that gap closer again that seems to not have any potency. Looks like they just used an upgraded Heart of Corundum as well. There's that gap closer. One cool thing they added is a continuation combo here on Fated Circle, so your AoE cartridge spender gets a continuation on it. They also gave Bloodfest a new combo. So their big thing here, they used Bloodfest to get those 3 cartridges. You can't see the gauge, it's under my camera. But when they use that, it gives them access to this big combo. You'll see it here after Double Down right now, where they do a 3-part GCD combo that's acquired after Bloodfest. And it looks like it's going to really extend their burst quite a lot. If they have to fit that as well as the Gnashing Fang combo, as well as Double Down, all into the into their No Mercy window, it might be a little bit of a struggle. Maybe they extend No Mercy. We didn't hear anything about that, but I don't know. You might just have quite a long burst on Gunbreaker now and just work around it, but it looks cool, so I can't complain. Okay, now we've got Monk, and this is a bit of an interesting one. They said in the live letter that it's less focused on the buff and debuff that gets applied from their normal GCD combo, but now you see this new gauge over here. They're more focused on being in the correct form, and that just gives you more damage. But they said it largely plays the same. It can now hold up to 10 chakras during Brotherhood. I think you'll see here in a sec. Yeah, you start seeing them glow red. That, I assume, means there's 6 of them now, and that would continue to fill up until they're all red, and then you'd have 10, which is kind of cool. Overcapping chakras was definitely a bit of an issue. You'll also see Riddle of Wind and Riddle of Fire right now seem to get some sort of follow-up GCD or off GCD. We can't really tell, but they get a follow-up, which is really cool. Riddle of Wind right now just increases your auto attack speed, so giving it an actual button's kind of nice. Giving Riddle of Fire could be cool as well, giving it another button. And it looks like they just upgraded some animations as well. So Monk looks really awesome. It's going to play largely the same with a couple more fun buttons and less worry about keeping up your damage buff and dot, which some people might be unhappy about, but it's definitely good for me because that's something I always struggle with. Okay, Dragoon is up next. The one big thing they did that they mentioned, you'll see here they have like a new sliding gap closer. There it was. They got rid of Spine Shatter. It's just gone. They flat out said that in the live letter. I believe we see an upgraded Disembowel there. There's Dragonfire. Looks pretty similar. But the 5th hit of every combo is that new Nidhogg ability, and there's no positional requirement on it. So every other combo, your Fang and Claw or Wheeling Thrust, is going to be that new ability. Should be really cool. No positionals on it as well, so cuts down on positionals a little bit. I didn't mention the melee stuff. I forgot about that, but Second Wind is also getting a healing potency increase. Feint is increased to 15 seconds, and we still have positionals, so get used to them. But yeah, that's called Drakesbane, that big Nidhogg looking ability. Life Surge is seemingly still there. Another thing to point out is the job gauge. There are no eyes on it, and they mentioned in the live letter that you can go into life at the start of the battle in your opener, which was my biggest request. We'll see how that plays out. Jump and Mirage Dive are still in there. They still seem like off GCDs, from what I can tell. They don't really play in a smooth way. They're playing in a way that shows off the abilities. So it's hard to tell how the GCD actually lines up in these demo videos. But yeah, there's no eye on the gauge. So life is available right off the bat. And you'll see, I have no idea how they go into life without the eyes. We don't know how that works, if it's a separate button or not. But life is only 20 seconds now. You still have your scales here for Wormwind. That seems to work like normal. After you finish a combo, you get one of those. They've got Stardiver, and then they've got a big follow-up to Stardiver. Stardiver 2. So, Dragoon looks awesome. I believe that was it. We'll have to see how Life of the Dragon works, how initiating it works. I assume, again, it's still just through Nastrand. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what procs that, if it's on a cooldown or what. We'll find out. All right, we've got Ninja here, and there's kind of a lot to talk about on this one. So before I play the video, I just want to explain that Huton, which was your old haste buff with the timer on the job gauge, they did away with that. It's now just a trait. So you innately have a faster GCD, I guess, even though it's, you know, always going to be up now. But Huton is now an AoE that applies the effect of hide. So I'm assuming it will reset your Mudra cooldowns. You just saw it there. That was a big AoE from Huton. Instead of just a personal haste buff, it now does damage, which has some implications for like AoE rotation, where if it's actually resetting those Mudra cooldowns with the hide effect, you could just have infinite Mudras during like dungeon pulls, where you do your big AoE damage, and then on your last Mudra, you just do Huton to get 2 more back. So you're kind of just flipping back and forth between Huton and other stuff. We'll have to see how that plays out, but it looks really interesting. The other thing you'll notice is the new job gauge. Because they did away with the timer for Huton, you have these which seemingly fill up. They just did Armor Crush, which is your flank positional, which in the past would refresh your Huton buff, but now it gives 2 stacks of this. So I'm assuming that's the weaker of the 2 of your third part combo. So you use Armor Crush to fill this gauge, and then you would use Aeolian Edge to spend the gauge, which is your other part 3 of the combo. You'll see that whenever he uses Aeolian, that gauge goes down. We just saw some weird Poison Breath thing as well as what looked like an upgraded Bava, which is your gauge spender. I don't know what that poison is. If that's like a dot, that would be interesting. But we're going into TCJ here. And, well, there's the Frog first. Frog 2. Hellfrog medium to Hellfrog large. Here's TCJ. I first thought it was just a finisher to TCJ, but this big attack, I'm assuming, is maybe Meisui. Maybe an upgrade to Meisui, because you always use that after TCJ. So, I really don't know. I believe that's it for Ninja, though. Yeah, so Ninja looks sweet. I think it's going to be as good as ever. I really like that new gauge change. Keeping up your Huton buff was kind of interesting. There's some management you had to do during downtime to reapply it. But I think the new gauge, alternating between Armor Crush as well as Aeolian Edge to build and spend that new gauge, looks interesting. So we'll have to see, but Ninja's looking pretty fun. Okay, next up we've got Samurai. This one's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot crazy going on here. They said there are flat-out upgrades to Hakaze, the first step of your combo, Tenkagoken, your AoE, and Midare. Those all just got flat upgrades. They look really nice. But they also talked about trying to simplify recast times a bit, because they now gave you access to Tsubame being executable right after Meikyo. So when you use Meikyo there, it just lets you use your Midare twice or whatever. Pretty cool. We also saw an upgraded third eye a second ago, and what looked to be a third hit of Ogi Namakiri. Yeah, I don't know. Samurai, nothing major. There's upgraded Midare. It looks awesome using all 3 of the different stickers, all the different, types of slashes. It looks awesome. So I don't know. I assume Samurai is going to be really good, really strong still, doing a lot of damage and hitting those big, hard hits. All right, I moved up top now so you can actually see the job gauge, but we've got Reaper here. They did some interesting stuff with the gauge-based DPS jobs like Reaper, Red Mage, Machinist. You've still got Death's Design to keep up, unfortunately. They gave you a new ability right here, I believe. Nope, not that. When you go into Enshroud, there's a new ability in Enshroud, which is cool. It's coming up shortly, right here. That new GCD during Enshroud, which might make it easier to fit more stuff in and double Enshroud during Burst. Instead of reapplying Death's Design, you could maybe put that one in. Could be cool. There's Communio still there. They've got another ranged attack. Maybe it's just an upgrade to Harp, Enhanced Harp, because they dashed back. I don't know. But with the gauge, when you use, what's it called? Plentiful Harvest, it lets you go into Enshroud without actually giving you gauge. So you can better manage your gauge. without overcapping when you need to press Plentiful Harvest. So you could have full gauge Plentiful Harvest and not overcap, which is pretty cool. They did the same thing with Red Mage, Manification, Barrel Stabilizer on Machinist as well. So that's just a nice quality of life change. We'll have to see how it plays out, but it feels like all the gauge-based jobs are going to be a bit smoother and just more fluid to play and a little bit more flexible as well, which is nice. Okay, now we've got Viper, which is a bit of an interesting one because we just have nothing to base it off of. They did a quick showcase on the live letter. I'll try to link that in the description, so if you want to go check it out, you can. But Viper seems really cool. They said they designed it with fewer buttons needed on the hotbar, even though it's still going to have the same amount of actions. So they're kind of condensing a lot of combos onto single buttons for Viper. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It looks like it swaps between the dual blade and the twin blade quite a lot. It's not like you're always in one mode and then switch to the other for your burst or anything. It's like constantly back and forth. It seems super fast. It's got this buff. When they activate it, they get 5 stacks of what seems like just enhanced GCDs, kind of like Reaper in Enshroud. And they also have these 3 red stacks down here, which were not shown. We don't know what those do yet, but these blue ones, clearly, whatever's happening on screen right now is what those blue stacks are for. It's probably like a buff or something. Yeah, I don't know. They also mentioned having to juggle a few buffs and debuffs, but it's very intuitive. You just do your combo. They said whatever lights up on the job bar is kind of how you play this job, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But it looks really fast. It looks like a lot's happening, and it looks like there's a good amount of weaves throughout as well, off GCDs. So I don't know. I don't really know what to expect with Viper, but it's flashy. It looks fast. Looks like it's going to be a good time. All right, we're getting into the Fizz ranged DPS now. First of all, for all of the Fizz ranged, again, Second Wind is getting a healing potency buff. We don't know exactly how much, but your Second Wind will heal you for more, which is nice. And the party mitt, so Troubadour, Tack, what's the one on Dancer? You know what I'm talking about. They all got a buff as well, from 10% to 15%. So that's cool. But we've got Bard here first. And they have heard my pleas. The songs do not require a target. You can play songs whenever you want. So that's going to be awesome for the downtime stuff. Pitch Perfect, these stacks during Wanderer's Minuet, are now AoE, which is nice for like dungeon stuff. Because it was always a little awkward single targeting those. It still has its dots. You may or may not be happy about that. I don't mind them. This red attack may be an upgrade to Bloodletter. We're not really sure. Once they go into Army's Payon here, it looks like they gave us the move Sudden Downpour from the recent Alliance raid. That looks very familiar from that Alliance raid. And it seems like at the end here, Radiant Finale might get some type of finisher as well, right here. So maybe a follow-up to Radiant Finale, which is your buff. So I don't know, Bard's looking cool. Just the fact that you can play your songs at any point during downtime is a huge win, and it's going to make the job just play a whole lot better. Okay, now we've got Machinist, which is another job that benefits from that gauge-based quality of life upgrade. See, we still have Flamethrower, for better or worse. It's a cool ability. Looks like upgraded Air Anchor and Chainsaw, maybe under Reassemble, I'm not sure. Here's your basic combo. One cool thing they mentioned is that we get multiple charges of Drill now, which will help from overcapping it, which is really nice. There's the normal Air Anchor, so you still get both, which is interesting. Bioblaster's still there. There's a Barrel Stabilizer, which again does not give you gauge anymore, the same way that Reaper works. It'll just let you go into hypercharge without giving you gauge, so you can manage your gauge better, more comfortably without overcapping. We see some other little things here. Same old robot, that's cool. That looks like Wildfire, I believe it's called. And there's this new ability here, that laser beam. Don't know what that is, but looks cool. I don't think it's tied to wildfire. That looked like an enhanced ricochet maybe as well. And then at the end here, we get a whole new robot with some machine guns for this big artillery attack. That looks awesome. I think Machinist is going to be in a really good place, especially with those quality of life upgrades on the gauge and the way that works with barrel stabilizer, multiple charges of drill, and some flashy new stuff. I don't know. Machinist's always been it's always been fun, or at least lately, not always, but I think it's going to be even better moving forward. All right, and I'm gonna apologize in advance to the dancers. I think this one is possibly the least interesting of everything they've shown. Apparently you can do standard step without actually having to dance. Taking away the dances from dancer seems like an odd choice to me, but apparently you can just press standard step now and it comes out. There's a new action after flourish. Don't really know what it is, but you get a new button once you press flourish. And then there's a new 50 gauge spender after tech. So here we're putting tech out, tech step. And then after that you have access to just another new button. We'll see it here in a sec. It's that one, most likely. Big final hit. I don't know. That's it for Dancer, from what I could tell, from what they said. And, you know, yeah. I don't know. I don't really play Dancer, so maybe I'm missing some stuff, but not a whole lot new going on with that job. Okay, we've made it to the magical ranged DPS. And before we get into each job, just two new things for the roll. Swift cast got reduced to 40 seconds, so you'll have more swift casts throughout the fights. And Addle got increased from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. With all these mitigation buffs, I'm a little bit worried that it's going to be even more important to be pressing them. Having slightly longer timers doesn't really impact that, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe you're expected to cover multiple hits with each use, more so than you were before, but I see that being quite useful. But yeah, let's just jump into Black Mage here. The first thing right off the bat they said is that the mana regen is no longer tied to just like a passive over time thing. It's based on when you use your ice spells, you get a fixed amount of mana back. So I guess rest in peace to non-standard rotations, because I don't know, maybe there's going to be some workarounds where you can still do some interesting stuff, but you'll see here they also pull ley lines over to them. And you'll see that there's also this new job gauge, which fills up every time they cast a Fire 4. And then once it's full, they can cast, I don't know, Fire 5. You'll see that here. Looks cool. Looks sweet. I don't know what it's called, but we'll call it Fire 5 for now. Maybe 6, because there's 6 on the job gauge. And then when you use triple cast, it fills 3 at a time. It looks like they're casting Flare. And then that third part of triple cast, you get that new ability. So I don't know. Black Mage looks interesting for sure. That new gauge looks fun. Encourages you to get a bunch of Fire 4s out. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how the MP management works in real time, if you can still do some shenanigans with transpose or not. I'm not a good enough Black Mage to take advantage of that stuff, but the standard rotation seems pretty similar. It's just kind of how you regen mana that's going to be a little different. Oh boy, Summoner. I certainly did not have Neo Bahamut on my bingo card for Summoner, but yeah, that's a thing. I know it's not called Neo Bahamut, it's Solar Bahamut, but yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. We'll see how that plays out, but this job action trailer, a lot of the same. Apparently we get a new action after pressing our buff, Searing Light. Not sure what it is exactly. We might have just seen it a little bit ago. But they made a point that they're keeping the res on Summoner. So at least for this expansion, we'll have res. They might do away with it in the future. They were really debating whether or not to get rid of it, but they ended up keeping it in the end. But yeah, I don't think we see any new primals other than that Solar Bahamut. I'm going to call him Neo Bahamut because that's cooler. But the thought was combining Phoenix and Bahamut. Here he is. I don't really see Phoenix in there, but it's a cooler looking Bahamut. And apparently you will summon them in the order of Solar Bahamut, Bahamut, Solar Bahamut, Phoenix. However that ends up working out. That's what they said on the live letter, so we'll see in practice. I'm a little disappointed we're not seeing any other primals with Summoner. Just kind of a reskin Bahamut is not terribly interesting to me, and not jumping out at me as a job that I really want to pick up anytime soon compared to how it is now, but we'll see. I don't know, maybe it'll be fun. All right, and now we've got Red Mage. They heard your feedback. They knew you wanted another finisher at the end of your melee combo. It looks like they just got a couple of upgraded spells, like all their basic stuff here. Another job with the gauge. I know it's hidden behind my camera here. They're moving it all over the place. It's very inconvenient for this. But Manification does not give you gauge, it just lets you go into your melee combo, similar to the other jobs. There was that Vine Whip attack. I don't know if that's like a continuation on their AoE spell. What's it called? Impact? Or maybe an upgrade to Contra Sixt. Either way, that could be cool. If it's a new button entirely, we're really not sure. But it's not seemingly part of the melee combo finishers. Again, Manification here. Just lets you go straight into a melee combo without overcapping. Really nice quality of life thing. And the AoE melee combo, they also mentioned, only costs 50 gauge as opposed to 60. That was always a little strange. And here we get the finisher on the end of the melee combo. So that's just another button to push at the end. But I don't know. It looks cool. I personally don't mind how long that combo is. Yeah, I don't know. More flashy Red Mage stuff is a win for me. And if Summoner's keeping res, I assume Red Mage is as well. So we'll see. Red Mage looks fun as ever. And it's only going to be smoother to play now that you can't overcap with Manification. Alright, now we got Picto, which is the last of the casters and the new job. This one looks really interesting. You've basically got 3 different paintings here. I'll pause. This is also one that they did a showcase of in the live letter, so be sure to go check that out if you want to see it a little more in depth. But I'll try to explain this real quick from what I gathered. Translation on the live letter was a bit questionable, kind of hard to understand what was happening. But you can paint these out of combat. You have like an animal, a weapon, and a landscape painting. They're instant cast out of combat. And when you're in combat, they're just normal hard casts. The animals are used for just casting damage, and they kind of work like Samurai's stickers, where you get 3 of them and they pop up in the gauge here. Right now we're just casting a bunch of normal abilities, which seem to fill your gauge. It looks like these circles on the palette can be cashed out to use bigger abilities, like that one we just saw. But here they're using the hammer weapon, which gives you kind of like triple cast. This is like your movement ability. It gives you 3 back-to-back higher movement skills. Here we got the Moogle because we used 2. So we're going to use the Moogle, which is, I assume, just like a higher damage cash out on your gauge. And then we fill up our gauge some more. You basically have to paint these pictures with like 1 GCD and then use another to spend them. Here we're getting another one. Now we have 3 stickers. We use that one, and we get the Maduin, which again, I just assume does big damage. And here they just used their landscape painting, which is like a party buff. And I assume you use that once you have everything filled out here on your gauge, and you get a bunch of big hits under buffs. I don't know what the rotation is going to look like at all. There's kind of a lot to keep track of here, but it doesn't really seem too bad. Just a bunch of big hits under that buff. It looked like there was a ground effect as well. I wonder if you stand in that. But some really pretty effects. A lot of very cartoony, painterly effects. They also mentioned in the live letter that they get a en avant style dash, where it's very Splatoon. You like dash on the paint and slide across the floor. But then after that dash, you also get a movement speed buff, which sounds really cool. Let me just see if I'm missing anything else here on my notes. I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers it. It looks like there's a lot of cast times, but just painting those pictures on your gauge and then spending them on 2 separate GCDs for different effects seems really interesting. It seems like it's very well thought out. It's going to be more of a caster than summoner, that's for sure. So you've got some hard casts, you've got some instant casts. It's going to be a good mix. If you like the style, I think this is going to be a super fun job playing Picto. All right, we've made it to the healers. There's not really much to note for the role overall, just swift cast again being reduced to 40 seconds. So that's nice. You'll be able to get more swift casts in the fights, but we'll start with White Mage here. The first thing to note is that when they use Presence of Mind, they get access to 3 AoE damage spells. I think it's the same spell, you just get 3 uses of it. I imagine that will be kind of during your burst phase and just do burst damage compared to just using Glare. I think we see it here in a sec. But it's basically just another cast. I assume there's going to be some upgrades to other healing spells as well. You get an extra Tetragrammaton stack, which is cool. Yeah, I don't know. There's also this dash. They kind of made it sound like it's similar to like En Avant. I don't think it works like Icarus, but you do get a dash on White Mage, whether it's targeted or just straight ahead. There it was. So that'll be nice. That's a really fun thing to have on Sage, so I imagine it'll be nice on White Mage as well. More movement is always good, and that last thing they just showed there looked like some other big AoE heal. I don't know, more healing, more damage. The healers are pretty straightforward, but White Mage is already solid, and it looks like it's going to keep going down that path. Alright, now we've got Scholar, and this is a pretty interesting one. The first thing they mentioned was that after using Chain Stratagem, you get a follow-up AoE. I'm assuming that is to spread Chain to other enemies as well. That would be cool if you could AoE debuff all the enemies in a pack. That'd be nice. So I'm assuming what that is. I'm assuming that's what that is. And then you get this new ability called Seraphism, which transforms you, gives you these cool wings, and just kind of enhances all of your healing abilities, which is really nice, or at least some of your healing abilities. We don't really know the details on this yet, but I don't know. Really adds to that Scholar job identity, I think. There's really not much else to say. For Scholar, there's a reduced recast time on Recitation. Try saying that 5 times fast. But yeah, Scholar's just looking fun. That transformation, Seraphism looks sweet. AoE, potential Chain Stratagem, is very cool in concept as well. Especially if it has a big radius on it. We can only hope. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that one goes. All right, now this is a job that people are going to be very unhappy about or pretty happy about. It's one or the other. You're going to love it or hate it. And that's Astro. It's got some pretty big changes going on. All to the card system pretty much. And I'm going to pause it right here and try to explain what's happening. As you see, the job gauge is completely different. We've got 4 cards basically. You've got your 3 that get drawn all at the same time, and then you've got Lord or Lady. These cards are all fixed. It's no longer random. And the way the cards work, they're not all just damage buffs. They are 1 damage buff, 1 mitigation, and 1 healing per card. So every minute you get a set of cards, and you can play 1 damage card, 1 mit, and 1 heal. And then you get Lord or Lady every other time. They're just fixed. And I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see. You only have to play 1 card on, like, during burst each time from the look of it and from what they explained. So it'll be a lot less busy during the burst. And then you can save the other 2 with the heal and the mit for a bit later, I guess. Yeah, I really don't know how to take this for me personally. I liked playing all the damage cards. You would have to play 3 buff cards during burst on your 2 minute, and it was super hectic, especially if you had to focus on healing whatsoever. So I do see why they did this. Another thing you'll notice about the job gauge is that Astrodyne and the 3 stacks that you get from playing 3 different cards, that's just completely gone. They deleted Astrodyne as well. Which I personally don't mind, but again, I'm not an Astro main. It is my favorite healer, but I don't heal very often. But I don't know, this change, like, you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, I think. It does give you more to do with the cards between burst phases, I guess. More to think about with healing and mitigation when it comes to the cards, so it's the type of thing where I'm going to have to see it in game, see how it works, but from what they described, I don't know, it seems less busy all at once, but more spread out, I guess, because you do still have 4 cards to play every minute. You also get an extra charge of Essential Dignity, I believe that was what it was. Yeah, you get an extra stack of that. Yeah, I don't know, less cards to play during burst, more cards throughout your rotation and timeline. Less randomness. So we'll see how that plays out, but I'm hopeful as a controller player on Astro. I think it's, you know, trying to appeal to me and those on console. So we'll see how it goes, but you're either going to love it or hate it, I think. All right, and last but not least, we've got Sage. This is a more recent job, obviously an Endwalker job, so I don't know, it's pretty up to date. There's not much changing they need to do. They added the ability to AoE dot your enemies. I think we just saw what looked like maybe an upgraded Toxicon, maybe Phlegma, we don't really know. It looked like a whole new ability. There you've got Numa and some of the MIT. They also talked about the fact that you can put out a party buff that basically gives Cardia to everybody, so all of your spells heal, all of your damage spells heal the entire party all at once, which is really cool. Yeah, I don't know. Sage was already in a really good spot. It's a new job. There's really not much they added, just maybe an upgraded Phlegma or Toxicon that was shown. There might be some upgraded healing stuff too, but a lot of Sage abilities look very similar to me. The job gauge is the same. It really didn't need anything. Having Eucrasia on your AoE, AoE damage now lets you AoE dot enemies, which is cool. That'll be fun in dungeons. But outside of that, it's largely the same. AoE Cardia, that'll be interesting as well, just being able to heal up the party. But overall, Sage is looking pretty similar to how it did before, just a little buffs here and there. So yeah, that's all 21 of the jobs in Dawntrail, including the 2 new ones, Picto and Viper. And everything we know about them so far, pretty much. That should sum it all up. Again, they did go over Picto and Viper in a little more detail in the live letter, but I'm pretty sure I got all the info out of that. But if you want to see those actually being played in slightly real time, you can check that out. I'll put a link in the description as well. But yeah, that's really it. I'm hopeful for a lot of these jobs. A lot of the new abilities look really fun. It's not a drastic change by any means for a lot of these. I think this game's going to play exactly the same as it does now with just a couple extra buttons. I am much less worried about Dragoon than I was previously. Astro, Monk, and Black Mage are, I don't know. We'll see about those 3. They kind of have some pretty job-defining changes going on between Monk's debuff and buff, Black Mage's mana management, and Astro's cards. I think those ones are the jobs taking the hardest hits. Everybody else just kind of got upgrades. Dancer got almost nothing. We'll have to see. Got 2 maybe slightly more flashy spells, but I don't know. Summoner as well. That one's looking kind of rough. I wish they got something else. We'll see if they're hiding something from us. We can only hope, cross our fingers, that, you know, Ramu or Alexander pop out of nowhere, maybe Odin. But I don't know. All the other jobs I'm really excited about. Can't wait to jump in there, start leveling these as soon as Dawntrail comes out. I'm probably going to level Dragoon as soon as I can. That'll be my first job. See what those changes look like, but I'll be leveling every single one of these eventually. Viper's looking really awesome as well, but so is Ninja. So I don't know. The choices are, there's too many of them, but I'm really excited for this new expansion coming up soon, and can't wait to try out some of these new jobs. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, like the video, follow the channel, whatever. Hop in Discord as well. We got a bunch of cool people hanging out talking about all this stuff. The link will be down in the description. And I've been streaming on Twitch more frequently as well, trying to learn the Epic of Alexander, progging some tea over there. So if you want to check that out, stop on by, drop a follow on Twitch as well. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking this out with me. And I will catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.